Hey everyone, so if you're new, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Kyle and I started making videos around about 3 months ago now. I started this YouTube channel up not only to share things with you all that I think may be of benefit and may be able to improve your life in some way and inspire you, but also just to help me with my own communication skills and my own way of presenting things. So this video is going to be the final video on my views on diet. And to begin with, I want to say that our diet doesn't only have to be the food that we are consuming, but our diet can also be every sort of thing that we consume and take in our daily lives. So I want to talk about in this video what it is that we consume that isn't food. In all the videos I've been focusing on just food, but I want to focus on what other things we are consuming in our daily lives that can have sometimes almost as big an impact on us as the food we eat, because we're consuming light, sound, air, all things like they're sources of nutrition for us as well. So when it comes to light, we need to ask ourselves, what kinds of light are we taking in on a daily basis? Are we getting mostly natural light from the sun and the moon, or are we spending most of our time indoors in artificial lights, like in rooms lit up by artificial light, or looking at phone screens, TV screens, any sort of bright screen like that? Because if we're watching too many screens and being indoors with unnatural artificial lighting too much and not exposing ourselves to enough like natural light from the sun and moon, mainly the sun of course, then our bodies they're not used to that. We are made for natural light, and it's gonna have repercussions on us in a negative way if we're exposing ourselves overly to these artificial lights. Like, it can create more stress in our body and can make our cortisol go up. It can make our sleeping patterns all weird and out of whack, and all our body's rhythms are going to be out of whack, how they normally should be in nature. So yeah, ask ourselves, what is the main source of light we're exposing ourselves, and try and get out in the sun and be outside more often. Another thing with what kind of light are we intaking is, what is this? What are we watching on screens? Are we watching the news, or like just TV shows or television series and seasons, and watching too much of that sort of stuff? And like, we need to really be aware of what we're actually taking in, because for example, on the news, it's pretty much just them. Most of it's just makes us fear the world. Like, it's always talking about how this man was shot dead in the park today, or there are terrorists out and about, just all the negative stuff. And when we're taking in negative information on a daily basis, that's going to go into our unconscious and affect the way we think. It's going to affect the way we feel, and our vibrations as people is just going to be much lower, and we're not going to have that vital energy that we should have as human beings. We're going to be much less positive people. And when it comes to things like TV series and things like that, they can just be forms of like distractions for us if we're watching too much of it. So we need to be aware of what is it that we really want to spend our time doing? What do we really want to be consuming on a daily basis? Do we want to be distracting ourselves by watching just normal TV series, or do we want to use this technology to be able to learn new things, like things that help us live better lives and things that can just lift us up and make us more positive people? Another important aspect of our diet that mustn't be overlooked is our sound diet. What kind of sounds are we taking in? For example, it can be what can we hear in the background in our average time at our house? Do we hear like the TV going? It's the same thing with like, do we hear the news and TV shows, stuff like that? Are we listening to what kind of music are we listening to? Is the music we're listening to kind of degrading? Is it always super intense music? There's definitely sound vibrations that if we expose ourselves to too much, it can have negative effects on us as well. Like they can affect the way we think and the way we feel through, say, negative lyrics, and listening to overly intense music so often, that's going to have a bad effect on us over time. Also, just constantly hearing man-made noises, like if you live in a city, hearing just cars, trucks, airplanes, construction sites, stuff like that every day, that's going to have more of a stressful response in our body. Just picture that, rather than being out in nature, in a forest, listening to the birds and the wind and the soft soothing sounds. So yeah, when it comes to sound, we must really be aware of what we're taking into our ears every day, and is it going to make us more at peace in our bodies and make us be more positive people, or is it going to do the opposite? Another thing I just want to throw in there quickly to do with the sound diet thing is, like, what kind of people are we spending most of our time around? And like, especially in the house we live in, are the people we live with constantly arguing and yelling between each other? Because that's going to have a horrible impact on our stress levels as well. So that's another thing we should be aware of for sure. And lastly, this one is actually our body's primary source of nutrition, and I'd have to say the most important one of all. So I'm going to make an entire video, at least one entire video on this subject. But that is breathing, the air we breathe. Think about it, where we are breathing, we have to breathe all the time. Like if we go without air for about 3 minutes, our brain can start to shut down, and we take 25,900 breaths every day. So it's going to be really, really important to be aware of how we are breathing and what kind of air we are breathing in. Right now I just want to focus on what kind of air we're breathing in, because there are certainly environments that we can be living in that have very toxic air. It's not good to breathe in. Like, you know, it's like being at a petrol station, breathing in fumes. It makes you feel a bit lightheaded. We don't want to be breathing that in all day, obviously. Or like, if we're living in the city and we smell like the air's just not as fresh in the middle of a city as in comparison to living out somewhere near nature where there's lots of trees with fresh and rich oxygen. Also, like, where are we working? Are we working just in a building with air conditioning on all the time, or on a construction site breathing in heaps of dust? So we want to be aware of what kind of air we're breathing in too, and to make sure that as often as possible we're breathing in fresh, clean air. And it's always good to be around lots of trees, because that's where the air's going to be the most rich and be the most detoxifying and fill our bodies with the most nutrients possible. In conclusion, our diet is not only the food we eat, but all that we are consuming on a daily basis. And if we want to be the healthiest and best versions of ourselves, it's in our best interest to become aware of what it is that we are consuming every single day, and we need to know if these things are contributing to us being the best and healthiest versions of ourselves, or are they doing the total opposite and making us more unhealthy and more unhappy in our lives. If it's the latter and your sound, light and air diet is not quite healthy for you, then don't stress. The best thing we can do to take action on this is to control our environment and get out into nature as often as we possibly can, and just sit in nature, breathe in the fresh air, listen to the sounds and take in the glorious light of the sun. So the first step is just to become aware of what we're taking in, and then once we're aware of it, we can begin to take action and take control of what we're taking in. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video, and it's life-changing information. It's been of massive value to me, and I hope it can do at least some of the same of what it's done for me to you. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more of it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, comment, and I'll see you all in the next one.